go to a preview. Let's see if we can find a question that has maybe something like that on there. A multi-part question. Yeah, this is gonna, looks like it's gonna ask you to do the balance sheet. Prepare, oh no, this one's preparing an income statement, right? So on this one, if you're preparing the income statement and you see all these accounts, right? A little sign of where they go might be in the order that they're in, but essentially everything down to dividends, okay, this is all going to be on your balance sheet. Everything that's a revenue item or expense item is going to be on your income statement. Okay, just as a general rule of thumb. You'll find anything that's like that looks like, feels like an asset, cash, accounts receivable, supplies, equipment, these types of things that you might own, right, will be an asset on the balance sheet. And then anything that feels like it's something that you owe somebody else, that's going to be a liability. And then the rest of it is generally equity, right? So usually what I recommend is when you're doing these problems, you come in and you copy this stuff, you drop it into an Excel file, and it'll give you a way to, I just walk you through some of this. So I just copied it and I'm going to paste it. I don't know, just values. So now I can see this and I can actually say, okay, well, this is a balance sheet. I can just BS. That's kind of bad language, but you know, hey, yes, this is a balance sheet, balance sheet, balance sheet, balance sheet, and then that's a balance sheet, and this is income statement. So now I may classify a little bit, and that way I can say, okay, now I know that these are all income statement stuff, right? So I can pull them down if I want. Those are revenues. I can insert a little stuff. So now I know what I can sum up my revenues. So I got a value there, and then I can sum up my expenses, right? So just a quick way of putting together a very, very fast income statement, and then I can just, for net income or loss, I can just do the math and say, okay, that minus that is that. So when I go through the actual problem, and you know, for all those that are watching this video, at some point we'll get a little leg up on this question. I'll be able to say, okay, well, I got 57.4 in revenue, and I got 41.8 in expenses, and then 15.6 is my net income. I can, once I put that all in, right, this is the problem filled out, I'll be able to double check all these values against my Excel file, which is the beauty of using Excel versus just, you know, doing something in a calculator, because I can't replicate a calculator, right? But I can, or double checks all the time a calculator, but I can double check an Excel file and see if my numbers are right. Right. In fact, I'll go ahead and go through the rest of this just to give you guys a little bit of a more of a feel. So your income statement is always going to have the name of the company, the title of the report, and the period for which it's reporting it, because income statements are always for a particular period, a range of dates. Okay. And so you're going to start out with your revenues, and you're going to then go on to your expenses, and then close out with your net income or loss. And the net income or loss is just the difference between your revenues and your expenses. In this, you're going to have all these drop downs, right? And so typically what you'll need to double check is if you submit it and you get something wrong and you're like, I don't know what's wrong. It's usually either because you forgot the date, or you forgot to put in something like net income even, right? You put these little row descriptors. Values generally come straight from the values that they're giving you, at least initially as you go through these chapters, except for the ones that are calculated. Any questions on the income statement? No? Okay. I'll go ahead and do what is this? Probably statement of retained earnings is next. Oh no, what happened? 12 of 15. Oh, maybe that was just done. I'll just stick to that one then. If it'll show it to me. Oh, looks like I messed it up a little bit. Let's go back to that one. What was that? That was right here. Oh yeah. Okay, so on these multi-parts, you're gonna, so that's the income statement. The one down below it's going to be the statement of retained earnings. This you're going to start out. Let's go to the retained earnings. I have my little file. This is a little too small, so let me make that bigger. Let's put it right side by side. I'll eventually do it side by side. So on the retained earnings, that's going to be everything that's pretty much your retained earnings at your beginning, plus any of your net income, which is right there. So retained earnings, let's see if I can do this quickly. So was retained earnings. I'm just going to do a quick one. We're going to do beginning, usually an income less a dividend, and it's going to get to your ending, generally speaking. Okay. So beginning here is going to be that one, and your income is going to be the one that we've already done. So it's going to be this 15.6. Your dividends, which I think they're going to do as absolute value numbers because they're minusing them. So we'll just do the same. Let's call this dividends right there. And then what we have to do is we have to take the beginning plus income minus the dividend. Sorry. So that's our number. Okay, now if we compare that to what we have over here, I can move these things around a little bit. Forget that. There we go. So where did I go wrong? Retained earnings prior year. Why is it 4.9? Did I get a wrong number? Oh, it must have reset the number, maybe. Did it reset the number? Dividends. I think it reset. Yeah, it reset the number. Sorry. This is what happens when you go out and then come back in, it'll reset the values. So I'll just put the values back in here. Values. That didn't really help me because now I have to redo everything. But let's try it again. Beginning, income, net income, dividends. All this less dividends. Okay, so beginning on this one was 14. There we go. Net income is going to be different. So what's net income on this? This is 16.9. And the dividends is going to be that one. Okay, so now if we do the math, that plus net income minus dividends gives me 6.9. Should be the same. There we go. Okay. So your retained earnings, once again, is going to be for a period of time. So usually the current year, right, ended December 31st, you have a beginning and an ending balance. And how you get there is add your net income and subtract your dividends. Okay. Any questions on that one? All right, hearing none. Last one is your balance sheet. Okay, so the balance sheet, I'll do a quick one on here as well. The easy thing is I know up to, let's see, I know up to here is assets. So I can just insert here. Full assets equals some. Just add all that together. Voila. And I know that's my liability. let's go ahead and insert this. And so total liabilities is just the same number, so that's all right. Put insert there, and then right here we're gonna insert this.
Foundations of the restoration.
Now your
Discuss.
your balance sheet is just gonna have the ending number. But so we're gonna replace this with no, we're not gonna replace that. How are we gonna do this so it's a little bit easier to understand? Sorry, so your assets, the easiest way, easiest way to figure out what your net, let's do this way. I'm gonna do a little reverse math for you so you can see what you're gonna have to do at some point in some of these questions. Sometimes it's gonna test you on the accounting formula, right? It's gonna say assets equals liabilities plus equity, right? It's gonna give you two and it's gonna make you figure out one. So like if I didn't have the rest of the information down here and it only gave me the total assets and the total liability type information, the question is, well, what's the equity? Well, the easiest way to know that is on the balance sheet, you have to have your assets equal your liabilities plus equity. So you might just say, well, your total liabilities plus equity, it's the same as your total assets. That's the easy part. So then the question is, what's your total equity? And that would just be a basic math problem, which is take that and minus your liabilities. So that's the easiest way of kind of backing into a number, right? And then you can check it and you know that I'm having a problem with this one. I want to move this. I'm going to cut that. I'm just going to move it down here because I'm going to insert here. So I know my retained earnings is going to be the combination of common stock plus my ending balance for retained earnings plus or minus my dividends plus my net income, which we already figured out in terms of restatement of retained earnings. But let's put net income in here. So my total equity, this was that. Okay. So our total equity should be common stock plus maybe retained earnings current year plus no minus dividends. Oh, actually, I already figured this out. Sorry. This already includes the income, so you don't need to worry about adding net income again. Insert. So it should just be that. In fact, you don't even have to worry about dividends because we already had dividends in that as well. So it should just be that right there. So if I'm right, my balance sheet should have these accounts totaling 37.6 plus accounts payable and liabilities for 14.8 plus these two accounts effectively on the equity side for a total of 22.8, which matches that number. So let's see if we got it right. What do you know? Okay, so you have all your asset accounts right here, and they total to 37.6, which is the same here. You have accounts payable, which totals to total liabilities of 14.8, same. Common stock and retained earnings for a total equity of 22.8, and then total liabilities and equity of 37.6. Now the balance sheet is for a point in time, usually a day, or end of a year, or end of a quarter, end of a month. And so that's not gonna, it's gonna be just for a specific period, December 31st. Okay. Any questions? Kind of run through that pretty quick. And you see all my little gyrations in terms of trying to figure things out and getting things wrong, at least in my own head as I think through it. But this is fundamentally the types of information you'll get, and then how you can work through breaking it out so it goes into the right parts of the balance sheet, the income statement, or the retained earnings, statement of retained earnings. Are you just dumbfounded? Curious as to what goes on in my head, how I get to this, but organizing data and presenting it.